I think I mentioned this before on the channel that I love classic anime OVAs. Ever since the 80s, I still get surprises. The endless pool of them that were released back then is impressive, and this anime reminds me why OVAs are one of my treasured lost forms of anime. Not because they are amazing, or average, or hilariously bad. It's all of the three because you cannot foresee what the OVA will be like, and I love that. The element of surprise is a huge part of my enjoyment of watching anything. The Dragon Century Laserdisc were in my household for a long time and watched it for the first time to do this video. And it felt like I got transported back to the 80s, and that made me sentimental for the old times. Dragon Century is an anime OVA released in the great 1988 at Studio AIC. It ran for two 25-minute episodes and released on 2 Laserdiscs. The story starts with dragons appearing out of nowhere across the world, and you have humanity's first usual response, to kill all of them. News about the phenomenon spreads across the globe, and we meet Riko, a girl who is not happy with a dragon hunt. She wants to have one for herself to fulfill her dark desire to destroy this ugly world and make a better one. So one day, she saves an infant dragon that his mom just got killed. She took care of the infant and named him Carmine. Then a form of demons show up, and it turns out that the dragons appeared in the first place to stop those demons from destroying the world. That got me intrigued. From the first scene, showing blood is the best way to capture my attention, so thank you to the animators. The story is something you can't predict, at least for me. It flipped upside down and went all Devilman Apocalypse. Beautiful. By the end of the first episode, I couldn't even figure out where the story will go, and when I saw where it went, I was pleasantly surprised. I did not expect the story to go into the direction it did. It isn't original or creative, but it wasn't something I envisioned given how the beginning of the first episode lays the story. My friends don't like the ending, saying that the story feels incomplete. I kinda disagree. It gave me that eternal fight ending, and I can compare it to the Getorobo Armageddon finale, and I love that ending. The plot does hit the flip and switch multiple times, but it did not feel gimmicky. It was fun and kept me watching from beginning to end without any slow moments. That brings me to the only slightly negative criticism. The plot is moving extremely fast. The pacing is not good. Events happen quickly, characters die quickly, and I wish each episode were 15 minutes longer. But overall, it is not something that ruins the experience, but it does hinder it a little. I will not talk about the characters individually because I will spoil the story if I do so, especially episode 2. But I do love the main characters. They are entertaining in different ways and not one-dimensional. Especially Riko, because her personality is a guiding theme in the story. I give the writers props for pulling that off, given the short amount of time this OVA has with its super fast pacing. Riko has a dark way of seeing the world, and I can't help but agree with her when watching episode 2. Humans are not worth protecting because they always end up in the same place if you reset the world. Violent, power-hungry, greedy, selfish, but most importantly in this anime, ungrateful. But the beauty of the world still exists among all the ugliness. That alone is worth protecting, and Carmine never lets us forget that. I love the character designs. What did you expect? When I saw Relicia on the cover, I knew I was going to love the art. Blue turquoise looking hair, 80s anime, the checklist is complete. The dragon designs are okay. Some of their faces are goofy, I can't deny that. But I love them for some odd reason. They have this intimidating body but with a cartoony innocent look on their face. And it fits the plot in a way, but it is funny, I can't deny that. The demons feel like they came out of a Gonagai anime, can't complain here. The animation is decent, but it gets amazing with the gore scenes. There isn't much of those, but when they happen, charming. Classic gore animation never, and I mean never, gets old. The music got me into a full nostalgic condition. Every decade in anime has a universal soundtrack in some way. The 70s have that robot stock sound effects, and the 80s embraced the synth. The entire soundtrack of this anime, though not groundbreaking, is goddamn catchy, and it made normal scenes more memorable. I don't think there is a scene where the soundtrack left my mind. It was part of the whole package. It did not feel secondary. Watching Dragon Century for the first time made me think of something. The combination of CRT, Laserdisc, or VHS is sometimes my favorite way of watching anything. Yes, it is not the ideal way anymore, but it triggers my childhood, and no laser beam ultra resolution can beat that. As for the anime itself, it made me miss the time where anime is short, doesn't need to be part of a vast series that explores every aspect of its lore. I love that when it happens, but don't get me wrong, sometimes I want the opposite. Yes, I wish it was longer, but just by a little bit. This is why classic OVAs are amusing to me. The element of surprise never fades, and some are far from perfect, but more of an unpolished organic vibe to them, and Dragon Century is one of those.